But there is a further point here. Borrowing to invest is something that I think is well understood. I think that's not problematic, and indeed the Scottish Government has the power to do that at the moment if it wants to. It's the borrowing to fund a shortfall in current expenditure is the one that's going to cause the problem. Now, there is nothing wrong economically with the government borrowing when there's economic downturn, as I know. And the present government knows as well, because it's had to do exactly the same thing. But suppose we had a situation now where the Scottish government had the power to borrow, and you have a shock to the oil price system. Now, if you believe that this is very temporary, as the nationalists maintain, when you ask, well, how come oil is not at $113 a barrel, which you told us was going to be the case in the white paper, but it's now around $30, $40 a barrel. If it's going to only last for a year, it makes perfect economic sense to borrow to make up that shortfall. I mean, that's what you would do. However, if this is a structural change, and many people believe that it is a structural change and that it's going to go on for maybe 5 or 10 years, does it then make sense? And under what conditions could the Scottish Government continue to borrow if you were going to cover that shortfall, as opposed to taking other more difficult decisions like putting up taxes or cutting spending? And of course then that also begs the question that Lord Kerr raised about on whose account do you borrow? Are you borrowing on your own account, where in the best will of the world a new Scottish Government is bound to start with a lesser credit rating than the UK has, simply because you're a new kid on the block and you don't have any track record, if you like? Now, again, being in favour of the United Kingdom, I'm quite happy that borrowing ought to be done on a UK basis. But if that's going to be the case, then the consequences for that need to be spelt out. Now, none of these things can be left, for in the hope that it'll be all work out okay on the night. Again, the white paper published last year assumed there was goodwill. Now, you've got to bear in mind here that the Scottish Nationalist Party exists to make Scotland independent. That's what it's for. That's what they're looking at all the time. And so if you've got the basis of something that is opaque, where there's inevitably going to be difficulties, you're just simply storing up problems, and I would like to say for the future, but no, it's not for the future. They'll be there from day one. And again, I can do the welfare point, exactly the same points that are being made there. As I said during the referendum, I've never understood the argument that Scottish taxpayers, of which I am one, would want to pay money to people to administer a benefit system, which is actually being administered, ironically, a lot of it in Scotland for the rest of the United Kingdom, and providing useful employment. Why do I want to pay more for someone to do that, or to collect my taxes for that matter? But if just leaving aside the collection cost, if you take the actual expenditure on the mainstream benefits, a lot of benefits have been devolved to the Scottish Government, and that's absolutely fine. But again, it's not clear to me in 5 or 10